The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Shotgun for Tim Tebow. Sets, throws, pass, caught. Demaryius Thomas out over the 45 midfield. Here we go. 40, 35, 20, 15, 10. Touchdown, Denver! It's over in Denver!
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And check out every episode of the show at basicallysports.tumblr.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg, Mike.
And you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
They are incompetent! The absolute worst!
So what do we want to talk about this week? I saw a couple of things that caught my interest.
Well, there's the whole Barstool thing.
That was one thing I was going to bring up. So if we get Zach to third it, I guess we'll talk about it. Well, first off, I want to meet the person that's surprised by this.
Well, it's John Skipper of ESPN. That's who's surprised.
Did he not know what he was getting?
Yeah, you're right. I don't know what he thought he was getting into. So here's the statement from ESPN president John Skipper about Barstool Van Talk. Effective immediately, I am canceling Barstool Van Talk. While we had approval on the content of the show, I erred in assuming that we could distance our efforts from the Barstool site and its content. Apart from this decision, we appreciate the efforts of Big Cat and PFT Commenter. They delivered the show they promised. So the two guys, PFT and Big Cat, they are hosts of like the most popular sports podcast besides ours on the internet, called Pardon My Take. And they've kind of established their own brand, and they're like everything that we know Barstool to be. They are in essence that also, but they are not as extreme about it as they are. They do stick to sports, quote unquote, in a way, but they do it in their way. And when they were negotiating with ESPN to get the show, the guy that is like the third big head of Barstool, his name's Dave Portnoy. Portnoy made it a point to make sure that the Barstool branding was still attached to this. And what some people, some of the snarkier members of the internet have thought is that he started this company with its non-PC branding and that sort of thing. But then he has these two guys in Big Cat and PFT Commenter who came in along the way and have now kind of overshadowed him and the rest of the company in a way. So he was trying to make sure that the Barstool name was attached.
Well, yeah, because
he wasn't getting overshadowed. Like they didn't leave.
It would be very easy for ESPN to take these two guys that are doing the podcast that's so popular and say, we're going to take them and screw the rest of you.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. Why didn't ESPN just hire them away and then just call it something else? It's like, okay, now it's just an ESPN show. They're not with Barstool anymore. I don't understand why they didn't just do that. They presumably have the money to just pay them however much they want to leave.
I think could it be a matter of ESPN being concerned that without the name Pardon My Take, people wouldn't make the connection? I mean, I don't know. I've never heard the show. I've heard it's pretty good. I've never heard it, but
and the funny thing is with that, in the first place, of course, is that ESPN, when that podcast started to get some notoriety, ESPN went after them with a cease and desist because the whole point of their show and their show's name, Pardon My Take, is a play on First Take and Pardon the Interruption and all that sort of crap. And that's what that show kind of started off as, is like a satire of those shows.
Now two people yell at each other until the time runs out.
Right. And they did a really good job at it, supposedly. I've heard a little bit of it, but I haven't subscribed to it or anything like that.
I've seen people on the boards that I respect their opinion, say that it's a pretty good show. Like McCarthy thinks it's pretty good. I think DG Now said it was pretty good. And I thought if DG Now thinks it's pretty good, it can't be that bad because he's not a guy that listens to the least common denominator stuff. This is a
guy that thinks that Batman and Robin is a good movie. So obviously,
that's a fair point.
Went to bat for the Star Wars prequels. So
yes.
All right, you know what? I'm going to retract that statement then. But I'm going to stick by McCarthy. I think that he's got pretty good taste.
DG, much love, but your taste in entertainment is questionable.
Hey, DG, I tried, man. I tried to throw a little complimentary stuff your way, but you can see what happened here. They shot me right down. But I don't know what to make of this. It just comes across like ESPN is losing something, their audience, I guess, and they don't really know how to address it. This seems like just like a swing for the fences that was just a bad idea from the start.
I mean, honestly,
you compare you combine this with like them also citing Katie Nolan, and they did something else recently, but it's just like you can see what they're losing a footing in the internet space and with the younger demographic. So they're like, hey, let's go get the thing that all the kids like.
I mean, maybe I'm just being naive coming from a perspective that really doesn't know how these things work on a corporate level. But again, it seems like the easier solution would have been to just hire them away from Barstool.
I agree with that. I don't understand. The only thing I can think of is they needed that Barstool, despite John Skipper saying they wanted to distance themselves from it. It sounds to me like they still needed that Barstool tag on there to draw the people over that they were trying to draw.
If you just say that it's Big Cat and PFT commenter, people are like, I don't know what that is.
No, you say pardon my take, though, and I even though I've never heard it, I know the show, and I'm pretty sure I'm not in the demo they're going after, and even I'm aware of it.
But even pardon my take, they don't, the ESPN, because of the history they have with that, I'm sure they didn't want that to be the name, so they make sure, or Barstool says, we'll make it Barstool. And they say, okay, yeah, sure, Barstool's a brand.
It wasn't called that, right?
No.
It's called Barstool Van Talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't get it. Again, why anybody's surprised by this is beyond me. Even John Skipper, he knew what he was getting into. Right. And I don't know that you're going to ever get the youth demo back because it's just such a different world now. The people you're talking 18 to 49, which I think is way too broad for what they're shooting for anyway. Realistically, looking at an 18 to 25 demo probably is really what they're going for. That's their target. And that's these kids have grown up in an era where you don't have to go to cable and all that stuff. It's all podcasts. It's all internet, everything. So I don't know why they're chasing that demo because they're never going to get it in the first place. Go back to what you're good at, ESPN. Your audience will be there. You got to get used to the idea that you're never going to be as big as you were, say, 15 years ago.
And here's ultimately the thing, and the key to the way this thing is being framed by ESPN, or at least what Skipper said in that little PR thing. As I assume, Mike, you've left your car.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Mike must be home.
Yes, I'm walking into the garage now.
Okay.
Wonderful. The content of the show is not what they had the problem with. The things that ended up being an issue is that when they hired these guys and the Barstool name and branding, you had people like Samantha Ponder, who hosts College Game Day now, bring up again what the Barstool brand is. It's misogynistic. It's antagonistic. It's bullying, really.
Some people have said it's racist.
It has changed over time, but it is still very much that at its core, I think. Yeah. It's not as far off the deep end as it used to be, but it is still there. And I mean, it's not like they've deleted a lot of this stuff. The things that Sam Ponder brought up were things that are still easily found. You know, basically, like the thing that happened with her, I guess, a few years ago, there was an article by like the two big guys there. One of them was being Portnoy, who we already talked about. The other one, I think his name was Feidelberg. But they basically said that Samantha Ponder's only job as a TV personality was to, quote, get men hard. And just be there for eye candy and look good and that whole argument. I don't know why.
I understand that they can try to kind of get away from that and change on the fly, but that's always going to be there. There's certain things that are just embedded or ingrained, I guess, in the mind of your audience, and that's one of those things. I mean, when I hear Barstool, I don't go, oh, they've cleaned up their act or anything. I think this is the bottom of the barrel. I don't know that I would want Barstool patrons to be listening to our show because I don't know that I want to appeal to that type of person. That's the impression I have. I could be completely wrong about that, but that's the reputation they've built over the years. That's something they've got to live with. And I know that he said, the guy you're talking about, was his name Portnoy? I was reading some of his statements.
Dave Portnoy, yeah.
And he's like, people like us because we're legitimate, I think was the word he used.
Yeah.
And I thought, shocking isn't legitimate. I mean, I don't know. If they really do feel the way that they portray themselves to feel, like with the Sam Ponder stuff and all that, then I don't know that you want to be that kind of legitimate, do you? I don't know.
I don't know. They did on their Twitter page, they did like a live video. So they did a kind of like an impromptu press conference with Portnoy, kind of making a statement about the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I can't stand listening to the guy. Like the way he carries himself, it's almost Trump-esque in a way where it's like, I'm right, you're wrong, we're the best. I don't know what you're talking about. We do a lot of great stuff, and et cetera, et cetera. And one of the things that it's funny too, but he did make one point that made sense. And funnily enough, it was a quote from The Dark Knight, where the quote is that, in their, we'll wait for Mike to get back.
Yeah, I'm back. So,
right.
And I'm home. So.
All right.
Okay. So the quote that Portnoy used was from The Dark Knight when I think it's the police are talking about the mob and the Joker, saying like in their time of desperation, they turn to a man that they don't necessarily understand, which I think is what happened here too. It's like, well, we need cool internet stuff. The kids like the Barstools. Let's get them.
Yeah.
And then when they get it, and then everyone else around them like, you idiots, don't you like we all hate these people at ESPN. There's a lot of vocal calling out of this, whether it's Sam Ponder or Sarah Spain. A lot of the women employees there and some others have gone out against Barstool for what they are, and rightfully so in many cases. So it's ESPN should have known better. Like, I'm sure the show was fine. Apparently they taped a interview with Dan Patrick over the weekend for this week's show, but we're never going to see that video, at least on TV. So they got their one shot, and ESPN is bungling it again, like they've done many things recently.
Yeah, I mean, they bailed without even giving it a chance, but that's because they woke up and realized what they had kind of hitched their wagon to here. And I go back to the same thing I said before. When you go after the kids, it never works because it's such a calculated move that the quote-unquote kids don't fall for it. They're not. I mean, it just doesn't work. I think of an instance where it has worked. I can't think of one where they go, we're going to chase Barstool does this podcast that we like, that the kids like, so we're either going to add that to our network or we're going to copy it because the kids love it. It never, ever works because it's got to be organic. And right, wrong, or indifferent with this whole thing with these guys, it's organic. And now when you take ESPN and try to recreate it, it's not. So I don't know if it would have worked even if they let it go. Maybe it would have. Who knows? But ESPN, the last thing they need to do is try to become more like Barstool Sports. That's not going to help matters any. Because I still stand by the fact that for every Barstool reader or listener out there are 3 that don't like it. And I don't know that makes enough of a difference to bring them on. I don't know. I just think it was a bad move from the start. And they just look like idiots now because no one's surprised by this. No one thought, wow, this didn't work out. I can't believe it. Most people are like, what the hell are they doing in the first place?
I just thought it's funny. Like, we tried to distance ourselves from the Barstool brand by calling it Barstool Van Talk.
Yeah. Right.
This was a doomed project from the beginning.
It would be. It's like if we with the Geek Show or the football show, if we said we're going to distance ourselves from basically a sports show by calling the show basically a football show or basically a geek show.
Yeah,
it's idiotic. I mean, I don't know.
No, and they again, it just kind of seems simpler. Like this might have been one of those cases, or ESPN could have saved themselves a lot of headache by just throwing money at the guys to pull them away and just make their show entirely for ESPN.
I mean, but I guess the bigger question here is, are things that bad at ESPN that they've got to do stunts like this?
Yeah.
It's not a rosy situation over there.
What is it because of, I mean, if anybody's got the resources to make the conversion from being basically a cable station to a huge internet presence, I would think ESPN with Disney and all that. I mean, come on.
Well, Disney apparently, at least some people within Disney, just want to dump them entirely.
Well, I can understand that. It's a weird place because it wasn't 5 years ago. We were talking about ESPN and how we just could never see it failing. Remember? Well, we talked about seeing little chinks in the armor. We're like, it'll always be there. And sure it will be, but it's just wild that here we are 5 years later going, oh my God, look at this.
Well,
Yeah.
I think from what I've been seeing, like their subscriber numbers are down. They've overpaid on on contracts for the NFL. Didn't they end up paying a lot of money for a soccer contract that's now entirely useless because the U.S. got knocked out of the World Cup qualifiers?
Probably. I mean, I don't know.
Or is that Fox?
Fox bought the World Cup. Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
well, that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
But I just, it's just funny to me because, and I think that, with ESPN, they went from this behemoth that you just thought couldn't be touched to all of a sudden they're just swinging wildly. I don't think they even know what they're trying to hit. They're just taking swings and missing and doing dumb things, and the numbers just keep going downhill, and I just can't believe it. It's just amazing to me.
The Six.
Huh?
The Six.
Oh, the show?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, because
that's the Six.
That's the other ESPN thing that's going on right now.
Oh, with Jamel Hill, right?
Well, and she was suspended. I think she's coming back this week, maybe.
Yeah.
But that was another thing where when Jamel Hill and Michael Smith signed their contracts, they were almost like ironclad like contracts saying that they will be on this show in this time slot, the two of them together, for like 5 years. Something like that, maybe 3 years. And that's obviously taken a turn, with her controversy and stuff like that, which is kind of stupid too.
Well,
but
I mean, I don't disagree. I can't remember what she said the first thing that got everybody's attention, that they didn't.
She basically, I don't think she said it outright, but she was forming the arguments of Donald Trump being a white supremacist, or maybe she flat out said he was.
Yeah,
and then the second thing that happened, that didn't get her suspended. When
she took a shot at the sponsors, that's what got her suspended.
Right. When they were talking about the Dallas Cowboys in particular and saying boycott Cowboys sponsors, that's what took her over the edge in that case.
I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with her position on things, but I also think too that you've got to understand who you work for. And again, I'm not saying she shouldn't have said it or she was wrong about any of it. But there is a certain thing that you kind of give up when you work for a giant company like ESPN. When you stick your name underneath that brand, there are certain expectations. And again, I'm not disagreeing with her. I think she was well within her rights and all that, but you got to be careful. I mean, it's the best way I can put it, and especially with that sponsor shit. I mean, I don't know, but I think they bungled this too because they didn't suspend her, and then they did, and then who knows. It's just amazing to me because it's just, like I said, when we first started this show, ESPN was this thing, like we thought maybe Fox Sports could make a little name for itself, but no one's ever going to take them down. Well, we didn't have to worry about anybody else taking them down. They're doing a good enough job of it on their own. They don't need anybody else.
Yeah.
It's just amazing to me. And then you see, the NFL, the ratings are down again. And it's just, remarkable how much it's changed in just the past few years. The things that you never thought you would see.
NFL ratings are down, but I'd be curious to see how they still compare to a lot of their, quote unquote competition.
Yeah, that's true. But you also got to remember too, though, that all these networks paid a huge amount of money to get the NFL rights. And with those rights come expectations of ratings of being a certain level. And for them to make their money back on the rights fees, the ratings have to be at a point where they can sell the commercials to pay off those rights fees. And if the ratings keep dropping, it makes it a tougher and tougher sell with the advertisers to get the money that you need. So, yeah, they're still the biggest name on the block, but we might be getting into territory now where they're going to start losing money on it, which is just unthinkable. Again, 5 years ago, you were like, lose money on the NFL? Is that even possible? Turns out, yeah, it is. And I think that might be where we're headed with this. It's just wild to me. It's just, it's fascinating because two things I thought were bulletproof, turns out they're not.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't know what else to say about it, but just, yeah, it's.
But yeah.
The whole ESPN thing is, it's just funny to watch from afar because, like you said, we thought it was ironclad and now there's so many ways to. If anybody wanted to make fun of ESPN at this point, there are plenty of opportunities and ways to do it.
Yeah.
You pick your bullet. Like which way do you want to go?
Right.
Do you want to cut off the arm? Do you want to cut off the leg? Do you want to cut off? What do you want to do? What do you want to attack
And they're just flailing. I mean, the programming is just to the point. I can't think of a single show on ESPN I watch that is not a live event.
Yep. No,
I miss Keith Olbermann. They should have kept him. That's when it all went downhill.
Yeah, I like the Olbermann show, and really the things that are still fine are the mainstays. The Around the Horns and the PTIs, I think those are fine. I even think Dan Le Batard's show, questionable. I think that's okay. But everything else that they've got, if it's not a live sporting event, it just kind of, I mean, SportsCenter's dull and redundant at this point.
Well, I know if you watch the Scott Van Pelt thing at night.
Occasionally.
I don't even know what that's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be his version of like a late night talk show.
Okay.
About sports.
All right.
It's supposed to be his version of the Tonight Show, but.
Yeah, I didn't get that from it, but if that's what they're going for, okay, I'll take their word for it. I just found it odd, I think would be the word I would use to describe it.
It's supposed to be something different, give you a different perspective on the stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Present the information in a different way that might grab somebody. I think it's doing the job it's trying to do. I don't know what the numbers are. Yeah, but I think that they're clearly doing exactly what they want to do with that, I think.
But the question though is, was it necessary to do that? I guess is the point. You know? I don't know. They just seem to be flailing away, and it's just something it's just a sight to see, really. It's just wild.
No, I agree. It's out there.
Yeah. But the Barstool thing, no one's surprised. And I mean, it only took a week, but I'm kind of surprised it took that long. Like they didn't realize that they shouldn't pull the trigger on it before they ever actually pulled the trigger on it.
Right. I think if you're going to do it, just do it. Like if they've already, I assume that somebody at ESPN, I mean, I assume, but I don't know, they've done a lot of dumb things, but you assume that they knew that this was a possibility, that people weren't necessarily going to like them aligning with Barstool.
Right.
But if you're going to take the shot, take the shot.
Well, that's the thing too. Like, you got to own it if you're going to do it.
Yeah.
You can't, right. They were trying to be half pregnant. They wanted Barstool, but they wanted to distance themselves from Barstool. Well, that's not going to work. When you throw a show on your airwaves that says Barstool Van Talk, kind of tough to get away from, like Mike said, it's kind of hard to disassociate yourself with Barstool when it's on the marquee of the building, basically. Kind of tough to do. I don't know.
No, exactly. I don't get it. I mean, I get it, but I don't get why even bother. Like we talked about back when they did the thing with Robert Lee and the game calling thing. This is a problem made by themselves.
Yeah.
Like, this is their own problem. It wasn't like somebody from inside, leaking a classified information. It wasn't anything of people attacking it or blowing up on the inside. This was, we're making we're making a decision, and then we're also correcting it in the wrong way.
Well, that, like with the Robert Lee thing, they created a problem that wasn't there and then solved it in the most ham-handed way possible.
Yeah.
Where it's like, if you're going to create the problem, at least solve it correctly. But it's like they create the problem and then totally botch it when they try to fix the problem they created. I don't even know how you do that, but they've managed. They're doing a good job of it. Nutty stuff. I don't know. Anyway, what else was I going to bring up? There was one other thing too. Oh, our Los Angeles Chargers guys. Oh my God. I don't know if you guys saw the thing I retweeted on the Basically a Sports Show Twitter feed. The celebration from the game yesterday. Did you guys see it?
No, I didn't.
Oh, it's a beauty. I got to show you this. This is so great.
Well, I mean, your Los Angeles football Chargers are on a bit of a winning streak.
I know, but this so perfectly sums up the Chargers. Let me show you this. I just thought this was the greatest thing ever. Yeah, they're back in it, right?
God, how are they back in it? How did this happen?
This is celebrations.
How do we allow the Chargers to win 3 games in a row? Shut out the Broncos.
Yeah.
Are you guys looking at this?
I'm gonna say the Broncos are not good.
No, they're not. They're not. They did the same thing last year. They got off to a good start, and we kind of bought into them, and turns out they're not very good at all. But this NFL, I don't even know what to make of it anymore. I really don't. We were writing off, who was it? I think the Steelers a couple weeks ago, and now I think they're 5-2.
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers have bad losses, and when they beat the Chiefs last week, they got back to Le'Veon Bell in the running game, which helped. But
it's just crazy. The Chiefs we thought were the best team in the league. They've lost 2 straight. Then again, when you give a team, the opponent, 7 or 8 tries at the end of the game to get a touchdown, they're probably going to score on one of those.
Yeah.
Right? I couldn't believe that every time I turned around. Like, another flag, going to give him another crack at it. I'm like, well, shit, just give him the fucking win and let's just go home because that's what you're trying to do anyway, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All I know is the Los Angeles Rams are playoff bound, my friends.
They pitched a shutout yesterday against
33-0 in London against the Cardinals. Broke Carson Palmer's arm. Jared Goff looked good. Todd Gurley looked good. The defense looked great.
Cooper Kupp got me some points in fantasy. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing that was the best about this game for me, besides the shutout, fourth quarter, you're up. What was it at the time? 26-0. In theory, a team could come back, but not with Drew Stanton. But in theory, so when you're a team like this and you're young and you're getting better and you're trying to learn how to close out these games, a 10-minute, 18-play touchdown drive in the fourth quarter.
Nice.
That just seals the game off. That was perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect game for the Los Angeles Rams. The only thing is Jared Goff had one bad interception, but I can forget all that because of all the other great things the team did that day.
I think Mike's got the prediction of the year, man, picking those Rams to win the West. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
That's
But the team they beat last week, the Jaguars, the other team to pitch a shutout this weekend, 27-0. Their defense is good. That defense is we kind of laughed about it after 2 weeks because they had the 10 sacks, they got blown out, but they're as solid a unit as anybody else in the league.
And hey, Blake Bortles, 330 yards yesterday passing. Come on. He should retire. I'd just go home if I were him.
Jesus. Against the Colts, anybody could really do that.
Yeah, it was, it's just, I don't know. I just don't know what to make of it. I mean, the Chiefs were there and you're like, they're really good and they've lost 2 straight now and you're going, well, okay. And, Andy Reid did some magnificent stuff. I don't know. I just don't know what to make of it.
You got the Raiders who have, lost last week to the Chargers and they win against the Chiefs and they're 3-4. The Jaguars are there. The Bills beat the Bucks. The Bears beat the Panthers. The Titans, even with Marcus Mariota, struggle to beat the Browns. The Saints are now 4-2
and leading the division.
Yeah,
after everyone that said that they were probably going to end up on the bottom of it.
Remember how bad the Dolphins were after 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Are they really 4-2?
They're 4-2.
The Cutler experiment might have worked out after all.
He got a rib injury during the game this last week. So Matt Moore led the fourth quarter surge for the Dolphins.
I would love to sit here and say, see, I told you about Jay Cutler, but I'm going to be honest about it. He hasn't had a whole lot to do with those 4 wins. I'm sorry. I don't know. When I saw they were 4-2, I went, really? Because it just doesn't seem like it, but I guess they are. The Vikings, I don't know how they're doing it.
They're up.
Yeah.
Supposedly Teddy Bridgewater close to returning also.
Well, that'll be good. I think that will help them a great deal. You put Teddy Bridgewater back in there, give them a decent quarterback. They might be the best team in the NFC. Now, it's just been crazy. But you know what? Going back to Rams Cardinals for a second.
Sure.
Do you think the Cardinals maybe should finally start listening to us about getting a backup for Carson Palmer?
Well, Carson Palmer's out for 8 weeks, so...
Right. Didn't we kind of predict that this was going to happen when we predicted he'd get hurt, first off. And secondly, you got nowhere to go.
It's not even something you have to predict. You just have to know, even if you're the Patriots with Tom Brady, it is a possibility that your quarterback will get injured during the season.
Ask the Packers.
So ask the Packers. So what is your backup plan? Are you comfortable with your backup plan? The Cardinals, I guess, were comfortable with Drew Stanton, but as they found out on Sunday, and as they're going to find out over the next 8 weeks, and as they already should have learned from previous experiences, that's not the answer. So,
look,
good luck on the Cardinals. they're going to lose the rest of their games. I don't know what game they could win the rest of the way.
Here's the thing.
I'm not looking at their schedule, but I wouldn't be surprised if they lost the rest of them.
Here's the thing with Drew Stanton, okay? I'm going to use Mike's job as an analogy for this. If you bring me into Mike to work with Mike every day and I sit and watch him teach every day, after 5 years, doesn't mean I'm a good teacher. It means I sat there and watched him do it for 5 years. And that's Drew Stanton. He's me, like being Mike's backup as a teacher. It's like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just here because, he tells me to be here every day. That's the problem the Cardinals have.
Would you be holding the clipboard?
I'd be holding your clipboard, and then what's time for me, you'd be like, Greg, I'm sick today. I can't come in. I'd be like, I really don't know what I'm supposed to do here. I kind of watched you do it, and I'll kind of act like you do, but I don't have the ability, so I'm going to get exposed really quickly, and that's what's happening here with the Cardinals. They should have listened to us. They should have listened, but they did not. So I have no sympathy for them, and I know we're going to get yelled at by, what's his name on Twitter? By Joe, but hey, that's the way it goes. We were right, Joe. We were right.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then, I just don't know what to make of this whole freaking league. I don't know. And then the play's awful. Patriots the Falcons, are we done with the Falcons now or what?
Ooh, boy. You can't be done with them because there's still a game out of first place in that division, and the Panthers are susceptible, and so are the Saints. But against the Patriots defense that has looked terrible this season, for the Falcons and that offense to score 7 points late in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and it was seven garbage points.
It was looking like it was going to be a shutout.
Yeah, they were garbage points, totally garbage.
When they were in the early in the fourth quarter, they're only down 20 at the time. It's like, okay, you could score three touchdowns in a quarter. That's easy. But they open up the fourth quarter inside the one, and they throw a pass that's incomplete, and then they go for it on fourth down with a jet sweep, and they get tackled yards in the backfield. Like, of course.
It's as if Kyle Shanahan never left at all.
Well, and then had a Super Bowl flashback. I'm going to call dumb plays here.
Yeah, no, this Falcons team, blow it up.
Yeah.
Blow it up. They've got the stink in them.
No, you got that right, man. It's all over them at this point.
and the jerseys, between Michael Vick's dog fighting ring and the choke job to end all choke jobs. This is this Falcons visual identity just needs to, I guess, kind of be purged.
Yep, I agree. I will say this though, I think the Patriots need to switch to these jerseys full time. I like the blue. Get rid of the logo on the sleeve because that's kind of redundant, but I like the jersey. I thought it looked good. The all blue didn't work for me, but the jersey was sharp.
I can't ever see these things the same anymore because as I was watching the game, my girlfriend was watching it with her dad. And she said, I wasn't watching it at the time. And she texted me, are the Patriots wearing different uniforms? And I was like, I don't know, are they? So I turned it on and like, oh yeah, those are their Color Rush uniforms. I'm like, why do you say it like that? Do you not like them? They're a combo of their throwback and their modern look. He's like, their stripes look like toothpaste. And then I looked at it and I'm like, well, yeah, I guess I kind of do.
They do. Damn. Well, thanks a lot for that.
But you know what? Because then I started looking up Patriots throwback images, and then I came across somebody who'd done a concept where they recolored these exact uniforms. And what they should do is if it's instead of making the stripe red, white, red, if it's white, red, white, and then you got the blue, and then you give them a white helmet and white pants.
Yeah,
I could roll with that. I
had an idea for this. I thought that, kind of like a combination of the current color set with the old look with Pat Patriot and all that, with the silver helmet, bring back the stripes and do this type of jersey would look good too. I think somebody actually did it up for me in the boards. This was a few years ago. But I just think that the stripes on the jersey look right to me, like this is the way they should look. And I thought it looked good. But the toothpaste thing, that's all I'm going to see now too, so thanks.
Well,
I don't know, but just a crazy weekend again. Every week we're like, okay, we're done with these guys, and the next week it's like, well, maybe they're good after all. I think we should just give up.
No, it's like I said on the boards. This is true parity in the NFL. Anyone can beat anyone, and nothing matters.
Yeah. I mean, okay, this is something I thought of today. And I think this is what we're going to have to look at it like this from this point forward. How many teams in this league do you look at and go, if they had to win, they could win? If that makes any sense. Like when they come in and go, okay, these guys have to win this game. Who's capable of actually doing it? I can only think of one, the Patriots, where they look at it and go, okay, this is a must win. We can go out and get this done. That's the only team in the league I think is capable of that. The only one. I don't see anybody else being able to go, hey, we've got to get this one. Let's go get it. And then they do it. The only one I have any faith in at all is the Patriots, which is bad.
Well, yeah. That's the thing with them when it comes down to it. Like they can middle through the season all they want, but they're back on top of the AFC East.
Yep.
They should run away with it. But when they get into the playoffs, when it comes down to man versus man in the playoffs, I have no like we said through the preview. I have no reason not to pick them.
Right. I mean, that's what I mean. They're the only team I look at, and I think, okay, once they're in, they've got the wherewithal to get it done. Where like the Chiefs, it could go either way. They could win 42-7. They could lose 13-10. And
same with the Steelers. Steelers have flaws in there. Yeah.
So like it or not, folks, we're right back where we were last year. It's the Patriots and everybody else. I think anyway.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to hang your hat necessarily on anybody out of the NFC or AFC South.
Yeah,
I mean, but look at the Raiders coming back and winning a game. That was nice of them.
Yeah, well, when you get 8-9 tries at it, sure.
So what's going on? So Chiefs are 5-2. The Broncos are what? 3-3. Chargers are 3-4. Raiders are 3-4.
Yeah.
So the Chiefs still have a healthy lead in the division, but
yeah. But you've just seen the things that we never liked about the Chiefs that make us concerned about the Chiefs all reared their ugly heads in the last 2 weeks with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Where you want to say, okay, maybe they've gotten past all that nonsense. I don't think they have. I think Andy Reid's still Andy Reid. I think Alex Smith is still Alex Smith. And as long as those two things are happening, I'm never going to be entirely on board with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
No, you can never have full confidence in an Andy Reid coach team.
Right, precisely.
The Bills win again over the Buccaneers.
The Buccaneers, if you want to talk about a disappointment.
Yeah, are we done with the Buccaneers?
Definitely, without a doubt.
Yes.
Without a doubt.
Wow,
they're just bad.
Even at 4-2, I still can't believe the Bills though either.
I got a little bit of faith in the Bills, but more as like they could fall down and accidentally win 2 games and go 9-7. Like that's as far as I could see it going. But I think they might be a little bit better than we thought they were, but not that much better.
The Bears having a bit of a rebound.
Well, the Bears did that. One of the defensive guys had 2 75-yard TD returns yesterday. That's who put their points on the board.
But still, it's for the Panthers who. We had said, oh, look, they're resurging. They beat the Patriots. They beat, who else did they beat? They beat the Eagles?
Well, they started off, they had those 2 wins where they looked kind of bad, but they were still 4-1, and we thought, okay, they're going to be all right, because then they had that win against the Patriots. Well, now they're 4-3. And they lost to the Bears, and the Bears literally scored 3 points on offense, and the Panthers still lost. Now, I'm sorry, but when you're playing the Chicago Bears, if you can hold that offense to 3 points, there's no reason in the world you shouldn't win. None. And they lost anyway by 14 because I don't know. I guess he had a fumble recovery for a touchdown and then an interception. Mm-hmm. But that was it. Yeah, that was their offense. Was this guy on defense? The same guy 2 plays. And my irrational confidence Titans had a hell of a time with the Browns yesterday.
Yeah, the NFL so uninspiring.
It really is.
To be perfectly honest, like I'm trying to get some emotion. Like the only thing that I have legitimate excitement for are my Rams. Everything else is man, this team's fine.
Well, look what happened to me. I mean, I had my Packers because we knew the Browns were going to be terrible. My Packers were my one hope, and now that's over. I mean, it's like, what am I even doing here? Why am I here? What am I bothering with?
I don't know, Mike. Are you filled with joy and confidence that your LA football Clippers have come from the depths of hell and won 3 in a row?
It's neat to look at, I guess, but
they looked good in the Carter Blues yesterday. I mean, it's not the perfect look, but it wasn't bad.
For their credit, they're 1-1 in front of a pro Broncos crowd. It could be 2-0.
Well, they arguably would have been 2-0, couple of those early wins, a couple of those early losses were just stupid fucking losses.
But is this not the same story the Chargers had last season?
Yeah.
Where they lost every game by 3 points?
Yeah, would have been a much better situation if they didn't lose stupid games.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you're just nervous, Zach, because the Chargers are creeping up on the Rams in Battle LA.
Excuse you? I mean, one of our teams is in first place by a half game. So, but hey, the city of Los Angeles, not allowing a point over the weekend.
LA shutting out the opposition.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they both pitched shutouts yesterday. How about that?
Yeah.
And
combined 54-0.
Wow.
LA versus
I
the
did
world.
not realize that. Yeah.
Well, just LA versus Denver / Glendale.
No, the world. We played in London, Mike. The world.
Okay.
Yeah. Should we apologize to England again for what we've been sending over there?
Oh, hey, they saw some great football on Sunday. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm just curious how the NFL plans to grow the game in the United Kingdom when all of the games they send over there are just complete and utter clusterfucks.
Right.
Wasn't every team required to play there over a certain amount of time?
I think the NFL was threatening, saying that you won't be eligible to host a Super Bowl if you don't agree to go over to London.
Yeah, they put some kind of gun to their head like that. I don't remember exactly what it was, but that sounds right. Yeah. We're really getting.
I was thinking, who hadn't gone over?
Well, we're really going to get them.
Gone?
I think they have. Yeah, it's been a while back with the Cowboys, but we're really getting them this time. We're sending the Browns over next week. So, if we haven't made our point yet, we're really going to make it now. You're not getting good football, and we're going to really show you just how bad it can be.
Wait, who are the Browns playing?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I live, a stone's throw from the damn.
Ooh, Vikings Browns.
Oh God. But if this season,
Keenum take on Kevin Hogan at
it's Cody Kessler now, man. He's back.
Case Keenum versus Cody Kessler.
It's so hard to keep track of these things. Who's actually under center for the Cleveland Browns of Ohio?
Yeah.
So you want to know something fun too? So between these two teams, between the Vikings and the Browns, because on ESPN they always list the players to watch, and it's whoever's the most yards in their respective category. Dalvin Cook, the running back for the Vikings, who's had a torn ACL for 2 weeks now, is still the leading rusher between the Vikings and Browns.
Oh boy!
At 354 total yards through 7 games.
Well, I'm going to make a bold prediction here. Okay.
Yeah.
Because we're playing a game in London. Because the season's been as screwed up as it is, this is the game the Browns win. They will beat the Vikings in London. I guarantee it.
Will it really count if that happens?
I don't think it does, but I'm sure Minnesota's going to feel the same way I do. But I think that's what's going to happen here. I really do.
UK, do you want to get excited for NFL football? Don't miss your chance to see the Cleveland Browns.
Right. That's right, man.
Fog. I don't know. Really? I don't know.
We should have sent Ohio State. This would have been a better representative, or Toledo, or someone, anybody, maybe even Cincinnati. But yeah, I think the Browns win this game just because that's what happens in London. Weird things happen, and that's what's going to happen here. I don't know. The Rams beating the Cardinals isn't really that off the beaten path, but the Jaguars scoring, was it 44 points over there? That's weird. I don't know.
Yeah. The NFL's, it's still a weird season.
Yeah.
I mean, we say it every week, and I'm sorry if our NFL talk has been the most exciting for people to listen to over the last few bits, because now we're just kind of getting yeah, okay, NFL football. Normally, when we talk about the ratings being down and stuff like that, and there's people always bring up a lot of different reasons why, but really I think it's just there's the political stuff and the anthems and whatever you want, the CTE concussions. I think the biggest factor still is just
it's not very good
decline in play.
Right.
There's a handful every week, and you get some exciting finishes in some of these games, but
the three of us, I mean, I don't think that any of us are not watching, and not that we're not interested in the other stuff, the political stuff or the CT and all that. But maybe it makes me an awful person, but it hasn't affected my viewing habits at all. What's affected my viewing habits are these games are just sometimes like getting your teeth pulled. They're just brutal to sit through. And I look at it and go, I can find better things to do than this. That's something that they're not giving enough credit for this ratings decline, or that the games just aren't that great anymore. It's just not good football. Football, college variety.
Football, college variety hour. Some interesting results, some not so interesting results. I think college is getting to the peak season of fun with college football because we're getting some upsets here and there. Again, without a doubt, the number one team in the country, your Alabama Crimson Tide, all 61 first-place votes. After a 45-7 beatdown of Tennessee. Now, the only reason I want to bring this up is, one, Tennessee's head coach, Butch Jones, needs to be fired like 3 weeks ago. And second, there was a Tennessee player. They were down 28-0. They scored a touchdown to make it 28-7. So what did this one Tennessee player do when he felt that, we scored? Well, he flipped the double bird to the Alabama crowd.
I saw this, yeah.
It's like, buddy, you're down 28-7 against Bama on the road. I don't think that's the time to be flipping the bird to the crowd.
No.
And of course, they got beaten 45-7.
While we're talking about coaches that should have been fired 3 weeks ago, can we take a little time to have some more fun with Mike's favorite pastime, which is beating up on Jim Harbaugh? I mean, okay, am I missing something here? Or has this guy not gotten the job done that he was hired to do at Michigan?
No.
Yeah.
No,
Michigan
he hasn't.
Loses 42-13 against Penn State. We thought this was the beginning of Penn State's gauntlet, but apparently not. Saquon Barkley, by the way, the running back for Penn State, with Sam Darnold's struggles, I think he's the odds-on Heisman guy, by the way.
You can't put faith in Jim Harbaugh to get the job done.
Yeah.
You just can't. Now, maybe this is where some of my college ignorance is showing, but is Penn State a terribly important rival to Michigan?
No. Well, I mean, kind of, but not really. No. I mean,
if anything, they're third on the totem pole.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big game, but it's not like an Ohio State or a Michigan State, no.
It's big. It's big this season strictly because of the standings. But yeah.
Exactly. That's it. It's, here's what I know about Jim Harbaugh so far. I think that the best season he's had was when they had 2 losses a couple years ago. Okay. He's beaten Ohio State once in however many tries he's had. And last year he had Ohio State beaten in Columbus and hacked it up like I'd never seen before. You want to give Ohio State credit for that win, that's fine, feel free. But that was more of a Michigan choke than it was an Ohio State win. I don't care what anybody says. I'm an Ohio State alum, and that's how I feel about it. All I can figure out with this guy is that he yells and screams a lot. And other than the job he did at Stanford in 1 year with the 49ers, what the hell's he done?
What he does is he comes in to these new situations. He did a great job at Stanford. I think
he did. Definitely.
His best successes have been at Stanford. And he comes in and he morphs a team immediately, at least in terms of the 49ers and the Wolverines, takes them immediately from being laughingstocks to contenders, but he wears out his welcome. But I thought, at least when it came to college, that he was probably better suited to that because you get the higher turnover and these kids are there 3-4 years.
It's easier to inspire a bunch of kids than it is, professionals making millions and millions of dollars.
But his thing's not working. It worked when he was at the University of San Diego, which got him the notoriety to get him to Stanford.
Well, hold on a second, though. All right. Okay, I'm going to back you up for a second here because at Stanford, all right, he started there in 2007 with 4-8, 5-7, 8-5, 12-1, and left for the 49ers. So really, he had one outstanding season at Stanford. The other 8-5, not bad, but
and the outstanding season was helped by Andrew Luck.
Exactly.
All
right, Michigan.
I think that's his big thing is that at Michigan he hasn't had the quarterback. No. And if you're Jim Harbaugh, you're also supposedly this quarterback whisperer that He bred Andrew Luck. He got Colin Kaepernick to be good. It's like there's nobody that you can get to go to Michigan. Like, so here's an example. The best high school quarterback prospects for next season, not this year, not this senior class, but the junior class right now that will be seniors next year, plays right up the road here at Modern Day High School. His name's JT Daniels. Remember his name. He's gonna be fucking great.
Okay.
But his final decision for committing to a school was between USC and Michigan. And so that was an opportunity for Jim Harbaugh to land his big quarterback and maybe make his big run at Michigan, but he chose SC. For what reasons? I don't know why. I don't. I haven't talked to him about it. I don't know what his specific things were, but Jim Harbaugh hasn't had that quarterback, and apparently he's losing out on the recruiting races to other schools.
Because he's a lunatic.
Yeah, maybe.
But this is something I heard today on Dan Lebertard's show, that according to Jim Harbaugh, he has the best college quarterback in the country already on the roster at Michigan, but he's not good enough to play yet. Okay, that makes about as much sense as saying I want to distance myself from Barstool Sports.
Yeah, if he was good enough to, if he's the best college quarterback in the country,
why is he
good enough to play?
Right.
There are plenty of freshmen that come in and win the Heisman Trophy now. Like, there's no reason, if he's that good, that you don't play him.
Well, that's the thing. How can you be the best quarterback in the country and not even start?
Yeah,
but here's the thing with the NFL. Okay, going back to the NFL, all right, yeah, Colin Kaepernick, and his best years as a coach were in the NFL, 13-3, 11-4, and 1, and 12-4. But how much of that was due to his coaching, and how much of that was due to the fact that the 49ers have been terrible and have built up a lot of draft picks and stuff and made a good draft? I mean, I don't know how much credit you give to him for that. Because Colin Kaepernick, I don't know that he did anything to Colin Kaepernick except let him play the offense that he was good at.
I think Colin Kaepernick also benefited from the fact that he is, in a lot of ways, a non-traditional quarterback when it comes to his playing style.
Right.
And I think we saw what happened with Colin Kaepernick, like we saw with a lot of quarterbacks like that, in that once the league got enough footage on him, he started to be not as effective. And we saw that with Kaepernick, where he kind of his output kind of devolved season by season.
Well, and you think about
was Alex Smith his quarterback? Did Kaepernick get to him in his second season with Harbaugh?
Yes.
It was the second season.
Right, because so Alex Smith had that big playoff game against the Saints the first year, right?
Right. And they lost to the Giants in the NFC Championship. Yeah. But here's my argument with Kaepernick. I think that if you can give Jim Harbaugh credit for anything with the 49ers, it was being smart enough to put Kaepernick in an offense that worked best to his particular abilities, like Mike said. But if you remember at the time, that was when the read option was all the rage in the NFL for a year or two. Because he had Kaepernick, and I think RG3 was doing it, a couple other guys. And it was the big new offense, kind of like the run and shoot was back in the 80s. Well, then, like Mike pointed out, once the defense has figured it out, everybody quit using it, and that made Colin Kaepernick pretty much ineffective because he's not a traditional drop-back passer. That's just not the way he's going to work. That's why he's a good guy to have as a backup, because you're not going to run your normal offense. You need a guy that can run around and make things happen. But that's what I'll give Harbaugh credit for with the 49ers. But other than that, and he went 8-8 after those two good seasons with Kaepernick. So I don't think he's a very good coach. I think he's a good rah-rah guy, but I don't think it works in the NFL at all. And I think it burns out pretty quick in college. And Michigan, you got what you wanted here, and he was 10-3 with Michigan, 10-3, and he's 5-2 this year. That's, I don't think Urban Meyer's losing any sleep over this guy, I guess is my point. And neither is the coach, James Franklin at Penn State, or whoever the guy is that coaches Wisconsin now. I don't think anybody's worried about this dude. He's just not very good. He's a nut. Yeah. I just don't know why you would hire someone to stand and scream and holler. He can't even get quarterbacks, like you said, Zach. Now, I don't blame a kid for not wanting to go to Michigan as opposed to SC, but you would think that the second best quarterback would at least take a look at Michigan.
Maybe. But either way, Michigan falls off. They were 19. They dropped out of the rankings.
Good.
The only team to drop out of the rankings this week. Penn State, again, 2-0. They're 7-0, second in the country. Good for them, I guess. They play Ohio State this week. This is the real test for them to see what they're really made of, and to kind of sort out that Big Ten. Georgia didn't play, but they're still 7-0. They're number 3. TCU, I only want to bring up this game. They're 7-0. They shut out Kansas 43-0. The Kansas Jayhawks have lost 44 consecutive road games.
Wow. And
at a certain point in this game, TCU was outgaining Kansas 435 yards to -6.
Ouch.
Kansas ended up with 21 total yards of offense on the game, so not a negative number, but Kansas... the Jayhawks really solidifying themselves as we're a basketball school.
You know, it's funny, too, because they aren't that far removed from that year they went to the Orange Bowl, and they were actually pretty competitive for a few years there. I can't remember the coach's name.
The big fat guy.
The big fat guy, the coach. Yeah, I mean, remember they were pretty good. The guy
that was round as a circle.
Yeah, I can't think of his name now, but they were good, and boy, they're not good anymore at all. I don't know how that happens to a team, but I wonder where he went.
I think he retired.
Okay, well, yeah.
But, yeah.
He's cutting into his eating time.
Losses.
40, wow.
Yeah, that's a lot. It's a lot. Wisconsin beats up on Maryland. They're still there. Ohio State didn't play. Clemson didn't play. Miami beat Syracuse, and of course Syracuse beat Clemson. So
by
whatever.
8.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if Syracuse is maybe a little bit better than I'm giving them credit for. Maybe. Yeah.
Jumping into the top 10, moving up 4 spots, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Yeah.
They beat the hell out of USC.
Boy, did they.
Up at South Bend, 49-14. SC has had their struggles of late, and they look particularly not good in this one. They dropped down 10 spots down to 21. I think this effectively kills the Pac-12 in terms of making the playoff.
Yep.
Maybe if Washington or Washington State win out, maybe. But here's the problem now. So, the rest of the teams aren't really that important. I mean, Oklahoma wins. They move down a spot to 10. Oklahoma State also wins. But when it comes to the playoff, we're going to have Alabama. And then between Penn State, Wisconsin, and Ohio State, I think the Big Ten winner is still going to get in.
Definitely.
Ultimately. Here's the interesting questions, though, when it comes to Georgia and Notre Dame. Georgia should go undefeated until the SEC title game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So by then they'll be number 2 or number 3 in the country. Let's say they lose to Alabama by 3 points. Are they a playoff team?
To answer your question, if Notre Dame runs the table the rest of the way out.
If Notre Dame runs the table and they finish 11-1, Georgia beat Notre Dame.
Oh.
Beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame.
Now this might be the one year where I'm going to actually go, you know what, it might happen this time. Because usually I'm of the notion that the only way they pick 2 teams from the same conference is that they have no other choice.
Because the other question then becomes, because you got Alabama, you got the Big Ten winner, and then Clemson and Miami are 7 and 8. You would assume, I mean, I think they don't play until the ACC title game. But I would guess that the winner of the ACC, assuming they both win out to that point, makes the playoff.
Yeah.
And then you have TCU hanging around there at 4. But I think they still have to play the Oklahoma.
I don't see them taking it the rest of the way anyway. I don't think that's going to matter.
And then even if they play Oklahoma and beat them, there is still a Big 12 title game where they would potentially have to play Oklahoma or Oklahoma State again.
I mean, now they've got to go to Iowa State. Now, granted, that's not much, but Iowa State's ranked 25th. So in the Big 12, there's potential. Texas can beat them, I think. I don't know. Texas isn't great, but they're certainly good enough to beat TCU on any given day. Then you got Oklahoma, and then Texas Tech and Baylor the rest of the way. But
just for argument's sake, let's say it's Alabama, Big 10 champ, ACC champ, and the Big 12 has fallen to the wayside, and you have to pick between or maybe even include the Big 12. You have Georgia at 12-1 with their one loss being to Alabama. You'd have Notre Dame 11-1 with their one loss being to Georgia.
I gotta go with Georgia, don't you?
They beat them, you would think.
I mean, because first off, you know that the committee puts a premium on conference championships. Well, Notre Dame's not going to have that. No matter what happens, they don't get that.
Never will.
So, but by the same token, when you've got Notre Dame sitting there with one loss and they're like, say, in the top 4 or 5, how can you leave them out?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That could make it very interesting because if Georgia hadn't beaten Notre Dame, then no way Notre Dame goes. That's the end of the story. But
and here's the thing for Notre Dame too. I think I'm pulling up their schedule. So they got NC State, who's not bad. Okay, so here's your Notre Dame angle too. They play Miami at Miami.
Okay.
Who's number 8 in the country right now? They finished the season at Stanford, who's 20 right now. They would have beaten number 11 USC. They would have beaten number 8 Miami. They would have beaten number 20 Stanford and lost to Georgia, who was 15 at the time, by 1 point. If you remember, it was a 1-point loss.
Yeah.
To Georgia at home. It's an interesting discussion.
I think you know what? I mean, normally when this comes up, I'm always of the notion that they're not going to do it, all things being equal. But in this particular case, I don't know how you can take Notre Dame over Georgia if Georgia's one loss is the number 1 team in the country, which would be Alabama.
And if it's tight. If Alabama blows out Georgia,
I don't even know if that's going to matter, though, really. It shouldn't.
I don't know.
Because, the big things with the committee that we've noticed over the years it's been around now, conference championship and head-to-head play a big role. And Georgia's got them beaten on the head-to-head. Now, and Notre Dame can't win a conference championship, so what do you do?
Here's the other problem the committee would run into. So we're going to assume the conference champions are getting the 1, 2, 3 slots. If you picked Georgia and they're the number 4 team, do you really want to see Georgia play Alabama again?
No, no one does. No one does. We saw that happen with the LSU Bama thing a few years ago.
Mm-hmm. So if Georgia is right there and they can be picked as number 4, I don't think they do it. Not because they're not a conference champion. I just think that because they would have to slot them, unless they say, well, hey, Georgia's actually the number 3 team in the country, and they don't play Alabama.
Well, we've seen them do that. We've seen them move the rankings around to suit their needs. We saw it happen a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
We even talked about it on the old football show. We said, this could happen, and then it did. They flip-flopped. There might have been Ohio State I don't remember. But they flip-flopped something to make sure they got the matchups they wanted.
Ohio State jumped in over TCU and Baylor.
Right.
Remember?
Well, yeah. That was the first year, and then they won this national championship, which shut everybody up. Here's the thing. If TCU runs the table and wins the Big 12 championship, they'll get in.
Yeah.
So, Georgia will eventually have to play Alabama, and if they beat Alabama, then it really gets interesting. Then what do you do with Alabama?
Yeah.
Are they out? I don't know. It could be very, very interesting.
I don't think they're going to beat Alabama. And the whole thing's moot because even if Notre Dame gets the number 4 spot, they're going to get dump trucked by Bama too.
Right.
I mean, again, we whenever we talk about college football, it's all relative to if Alabama didn't exist, all this other stuff's interesting. But yeah.
Well, we thought the same thing in 2014 too, though.
Yeah, maybe. I don't.
And Ohio State kicked Alabama's ass. I mean, now granted, I don't think if you played them 10 times, they could have done it 10 times, but that one night, they were all over.
Alabama has lost, and they have other bowl game losses, whether it's to Oklahoma or to Utah.
Right.
But those weren't national championship games or playoffs. So.
Can we just do the what's it called, the relegation? Or what do they call that in soccer, where they move teams up and down?
Promotion and relegation, yeah.
Yeah, can we just do that with Alabama, move up to the NFL so the rest of us can have some fun here?
Yeah. I'll look through the rest of these. I don't think there's anything too interesting.
Mike, we are counting on your Auburn Tigers to take care of this Bama problem for us. Okay. That's
they beat
confidence.
Arkansas 2-20. They got a big win there.
Yeah.
Iowa State jumps into the rankings though at 25. That's huge.
I love their uniforms.
Cyclones.
Yeah, I think that's great. My Toledo Rockets got 1 vote this week too.
And then also Marshall getting a vote.
I was going to talk about the UCF Golden Knights too, 6-0. They should be up there. Come on.
Yeah, Golden Knights 6-0. South Florida Bulls 7-0.
Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, look at that. That'll be a good bowl game. They should have those two play each other. All right, anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
In the same conference.
Are they?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, well, it'll be a good championship game then.
When it comes to the group of 5, like the other conferences, I don't know if Notre Dame's included in that, but they're up. They're not.
Yes, if they aren't the playoff team, then they are but they're in the right ranking. I forget, whatever it is. If they meet the criteria, they're the first choice. Because let's be honest about it, they travel better than just about anybody.
Yeah. Otherwise, but if it's not Notre Dame as that other team, then it's either one of those Florida teams, the South Central, your directional Florida school of choice. Yeah. Everything else is kind of ho hum.
It's getting good, though. It's getting good.
Yeah. Anything else that you can think of? Oh, actually, I got to give a shout out to the fighting Sun Devils of Arizona State. 2 wins in a row. Hey, they're 2 wins away from being bowl eligible. Something I didn't think they were going to do this season.
Who did they beat? I know they beat. They had a big win 2 weeks ago.
They beat Washington.
Washington, right? Who did they beat this week?
Utah.
Ooh, that's two nice wins for them. It really is.
And they play USC this weekend. A slumping, struggling USC.
Ooh, look at the Sun Devils can get right back into the picture here.
Welcome them into Sun Devil Stadium this weekend.
Look out!
Tempe.
Yeah, because the Utes played. Who'd they play tough? Anyway, that's a good win for the.
Utes always play everybody tough.
Yeah, they're one of those schools that they're 3 recruits away from being a serious contender. Like they just don't have quite enough. They're good enough to play it tough, but they don't really have enough to take it all the way. Anyway,
and the unfortunate. While it's nice that the team's winning, it's unfortunately saving Todd Graham's job, which isn't fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, they'll get at least 1 win down the stretch when they beat U of A, of course. So they gotta find one other win elsewhere.
Well, before we bail on college football here, did anybody check out Ohio State's uniforms for the Penn State game?
Oh, I didn't.
Oh Lord,
are they something?
They're horrible.
Let's see. Ohio State uniforms.
They're gray with a black helmet.
Ooh, are they gray or are they anthracite? Oh.
Yeah, not good, right?
They're wearing LeBron cleats.
Oh, God. Why do they do... I don't get this. You've got one of the best uniforms in college football.
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's wolf gray, Zach. I just saw wolf in the video.
Is it wolf gray?
It's wolf gray for sure, yeah. There's a video. If you go to the Buckeyes Twitter page, there you go. Yeah.
Oh, these look terrible.
There's the wolf. Oh, my God.
And LeBron James shoes, huh?
Yeah.
What do you think of the red Buckeye stickers?
They look terrible.
It's all horrible. Come on. Again, you've got one of the best uniforms in all of college football, especially when those Buckeye stickers start adding up on the helmets. Come on.
Ooh.
Yeah, and they're black helmets with gray. Okay, you know what? Fuck them. They're probably going to lose now.
They're gray uniforms with black numbers and black stripes.
Yeah.
Where silver is on the regular uniforms, it's still silver, which is stupid.
Yeah. God.
It's like it literally looks like they're like you're trying to watch Ohio State play on a black and white TV.
Yeah.
Just with
pretty much
with the splotches of red.
Yeah.
Like seriously, these pictures just look like someone desaturated all the pictures.
Yep. And did like a weird negative thing with the helmet picture, like where they reverse the like the color or whatever.
I'm sorry, LeBron, but those are fucking ugly shoes.
Yeah, well, they sure are.
That's the state of sneakers, I suppose.
Yeah. You know how hard it is to find just a good pair of sneakers. Like I like black sneakers with white logos on them. Good luck. I mean, you can get those cheap broke-ass ones at the, I forget what those places are called, like the shoe department or whatever, but I like the, not top-of-the-line Nikes, but I like my shoes to be pretty good. And it's very difficult for me to find anything that I don't look like, a guy my age trying to be a kid wearing, So, anyway, we
stick with the New Balances. Those are
No, I will not wear New Balance. Absolutely not. I refuse. No.
What's wrong with New Balance?
They're old man shoes. Every guy, like my girlfriend's dad, nothing but New Balance. Her stepdad, New Balance. It's like, no way. I will not wear New Balance because of that. It's like, I don't know, maybe it's different where you guys are, but around here, New Balance is old guy shoes. That's like what the old guys wear, are the New Balance. I got to have Nikes or Adidas or something. Maybe Reebok in a pinch. But anyway, we got anything else?
Nothing I can think of off the top of my head.
Mike, anything?
Not really, no. I mean...
All right, let's...
a quiet week in the world, actually.
Oh, baseball!
Well, right. How did we forget about the goddamn World Series?
Well, I didn't forget about it. I just thought, it hasn't started yet. We can make a prediction real quick.
Talk about the championship series wrapping up, I guess. The Dodgers' first World Series appearance since 1988.
Yep. And the Houston Astros, you were right, Mike, first team to ever win the pennant in both leagues. Even back in the screwed up early days, it never happened. So this is the first time.
Huh.
That's good. You know what? How wild would that be to go to their stadium? You've got 2004 National League champions, 2017 American League champions. Come on.
It's a strange one.
So who do we like in the series? I think the Dodgers walk away with this. I don't think
everyone was down on the Dodgers going in because they kind of finished with a slump. But they have been Golden State Warriors-esque.
Yeah.
Since the playoffs started. So
I think Houston's pitching, it might be the only thing that would give them pause. I think if it was the Dodgers or if it was the Yankees, I'd say the Dodgers in a sweep almost maybe. But I don't know. There's something about the pitching, having them match up like that.
You got Dallas Keuchel.
Gives me some hope for
right. If I couldn't get
Keuchel, Justin Verlander, yeah,
right. If I couldn't get the Indians in the World Series, this would have been my choice: Astros, Dodgers. And
it's the two best teams in baseball.
I was just going to say, people, we remember the Indians having that great streak towards the end of the season, but if you look at the season as a whole, these are clearly the two best teams.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not to pick on the Indians, but when the playoffs started, everyone was super high on them and super down on the Dodgers because the Dodgers had that slump near the end,
right,
and the Indians went on that tear. Well, how'd that all end up working? It's just a case where I think it's a lesson that everyone who watches sports and likes to talk about sports could kind of heed, so to say. That is, everyone who was so down on the Dodgers because they finished kind of weak was either ignoring or forgetting the fact that it's still the same team that went on that tear earlier. So
I think with
potential was always there.
With the Dodgers, I think, at least in my case anyway, what sent them on that slump was the way the Diamondbacks dominated them for the last month of the season.
Yeah, but then I
know, but you got to remember,
dealt them so easily.
But going into the playoffs, so you look at it and you go, man, the Diamondbacks have had their number here. I mean, all season really, they won the season series against the Dodgers and just kicked their asses. Like in the two series they played towards the end of the season, you go, okay, one team has got these guys figured out, which is not an unreasonable thing to think.
No, it's not. But I think. I don't know. I think if you look at the body of work the Dodgers put together this season, it did just kind of seem a bit premature that everyone was like, "Oh, Dodgers aren't gonna go very far."
It's a hot take world, man. You can't state the obvious. But no, I think though, like you said, using the entire body of work for the full season, it's clear that these are the two best teams. The Indians, when they were on that hot streak, I think a lot of us felt that they were. And I still believe that they were finally playing up to their potential, but they only did it for a month. And you've got to take that into consideration. The rest of the year, they were pretty, 3 or 4 games over 500. Dodgers and Astros were consistently dominant all the way through. And at the end of the day, they're the two best teams, so it worked out, I guess. But I like the Dodgers to win the series, but, like Zach said, if Verlander and Keuchel come out and pitch well, and Kershaw does what he normally does in the playoffs, it could change everything quick. And you can see it. I'm happy either way. Either team wins, I'm fine with it. I like them both. And as I've said before, I didn't run out of clothes this year. I've got an Astros T-shirt, 3 Dodgers T-shirts, and I got a hat for each team.
Well,
so I'm good to go.
Fair, that's easy when half the league is your favorite.
Well, not half. I think we did it one time. It's only 7. It was actually 7. There's 7 teams. But
you win either way, don't you?
Kinda. I mean, honestly, if you sat me down and said, "Okay, who do you really want to win?" I want the Dodgers to win. I won't mind if the Astros win, but I'm clearly in the Dodgers camp. I want them to win.
Here's something interesting that I heard. I think it was on one of Bill Simmons' podcasts. Basically, trying to compare because they were talking about baseball. They were talking about championship droughts, and he says that there's definitely a difference between say the Indians not winning since 1945.
54 or 48.
48. And the Astros not winning ever, in their history.
Yeah.
Because they've never even done it. So it's not like they're missing something. It's that they just haven't done it.
Is he saying that the Indians have I don't know, for lack of a better term, more of a claim to it than the Astros do, or more of a...
Yeah.
I don't buy that.
I think it was. I'm forgetting who it was, but it was like they were. I think they were mostly talking about when there's these lists of longest droughts in sports.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When it's like it means more to a team that was founded in the early 1900s, hasn't won since 48, versus a team that was founded in 1948 and hasn't won since then. Does that make sense?
I don't believe that at all.
I think I don't know. Like, look. All right, look. I'm gonna use another sport here, but I think the same position applies. I honestly think that that a Stanley Cup would mean more to the Toronto Maple Leafs and their fan base than it would to, say, the Carolina Hurricanes.
Okay, but that's a
right.
good, and I would agree with that. I think a championship would be more to the Indians than it would to, say, the Diamondbacks or the Rays.
How about this? Because the droughts both started in 1967, technically. Toronto Maple Leafs or St. Louis Blues.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's where I think it gets a little closer. I think the other thing that he brought up was, and obviously I agree with this one, and it kind of applies to the Hurricanes thing. Like in football, whenever they're talking about like the championship droughts, the Cardinals franchise is always listed up there. Yeah.
But it's like, people in Phoenix aren't exactly lamenting the Decatur Cardinals.
My argument would be that, like, and using what Mike brought up here, if you're talking about, like, I don't know, legacy, for lack of a better term, or a thread that runs out throughout generations, yeah, it's going to mean more to the Cleveland Indians fan base because it's been around longer. It goes back further. But I think fan for fan, I don't know that necessarily like a guy my age or the same guy that's been an Astros fan for as long as I've been an Indians fan is going to feel any differently about it than I do. I mean, I don't think that I deserve it more than he does because my team's been around longer. So I think there's a kind of an argument can be made both ways. And like with the Maple Leafs, yeah, because the Maple Leafs fans go all the way back to the very beginning, to the original six. With the Indians, they go all the way back to the beginning of the American League. But that's the difference. But I think when you've got a team what are the Astros? They came around in 61, I think. Yeah, so they're my age basically. When you've been around that long, I think it's got some weight behind it too. Maybe not quite as much, but I'm not going to say that they're entirely different. Maybe, from a historical standpoint or a lineage standpoint, yeah, a Maple Leafs, Indians, going back further is maybe a little more meaningful, but I don't know that I could throw the Astros in the same category. I throw the Rays or who's another one of those shit expansion teams that hasn't won, the Rockies.
Those shit expansion
I can't say that they're in the same camp as those guys either. I think they're somewhere in between.
No, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Although I think it is. I mean, not that this matters, but I do think that, I mean, maybe it's just a comment on the natural evolution of like a sports franchise in the modern era. And by modern era, I'm kind of saying 60s onward. In that, like, if you look back at the history of the Astros, I mean, they were originally the Colt 45s.
Right.
And they were the Astros, and they changed the name of the Astros basically as a gimmick because the Astrodome was this big – marvel at the time.
Well, NASA too. NASA was huge at the time.
NASA was big at the time, right. and they had all of these gimmicky jerseys as the Astros before they finally settled down into something that's more or less fine. Like, I don't know. It just seems to me like the Astros were like what the Rays and Rockies are today, like 30 years ago, and and I don't know. I just kind of find it funny when you kind of sit back and you look at how teams sort of evolve in a modern setting where they don't necessarily have that old-timey tradition to fall back on. So there's a lot of experimentation and attempts to try to...
But in defense of the Astros and all those uniforms, I think if you went back and followed the history of the Indians from that same time period, they've changed uniforms at least twice as many times as the Astros have.
Oh no, they absolutely did. The wild card on that discussion is the fact that I think the 70s in particular were just a really bad time for baseball for everyone when it came to uniforms.
Yeah, but I think the Astros, the ones with the Astros with like the star across the top with the
Tequila Sunrise.
No, not the Tequila Sunrise. I don't like those at all.
No, I'm just talking about like between like the shooting star.
Yeah, the shooting star with the Astros. That's like their best look, if you ask me. That they should have gone back to that.
But I'm just saying,
think their current look is their best look.
Yeah, their current look is pretty solid. But like, I'm just saying, when you go back to look at the Astros uniform history, like you got the Shooting Stars, then you have the Tequila Sunrise, then you've got Racing Stripes.
Then you have the 90s one with the 90s. Randy Johnson one.
Well, you had the blue ones with the gold,
the navy blue,
and then you have like this old timey southwestern.
Yeah, you had the railroad station look for a team called the Astros, which I never fully understood.
And then they finally were like, we're just a blue and orange baseball team. Let's just be a blue and orange baseball team. And that's why I agree with Zach. We're like, this is probably their best look, because everything about the current look hits all the hallmarks of like what the ideal Astros identity is, but it doesn't indulge in some of the gimmicks. Like it kind of just seems like over the years the Astros have been defined by gimmicks. It's like first it was we're moving into the Astrodome and NASA is big, so we're going to be the Astros. Then it was Shooting Stars. Then it was Tequila Sunrise. Then Racing Stripes. And then it was like 90s, so we're going to have a super, like, italic number and font, and it's going to be sharp and pointy. And then it's like, well, the Camden Yards trend's big now, so everything's got to be overly kitschy, and so we're going to be a train team. And that's kind of where I'm getting at, where
at least they don't have the hill in center field anymore.
Oh, yeah, with the American flag.
Hi, we're the Astros. We were named after the NASA space program. Welcome to our railroad yard.
Welcome to our railroad. What was the point of the hill? Was the point of the hill with the American flag to be like, it's just like playing baseball in the park?
It was taken, I forget, it was one of the old stadiums. I don't remember which one. It was, I want to say maybe in Philly or one of the old, like maybe even in Cincinnati, one of the really old stadiums had a hill in the middle. And this was at the very height of the everything about retro ballparks is great, so let's do this just because we can. And that's what that hill was. It was like a tribute to that, and it was complete, utter bullshit. I don't know. It was the dumbest thing of all the things they've done with the whole retro thing in mind. That was by far the dumbest. I don't know why they did that. It made no sense, but they did. And the flagpole being right there in part of the field as part of the playing field, that was maybe the Polo Grounds. I'm not sure. I don't remember exactly, but all that shit was taken from other stadiums, old stadiums. I
kind of like the Camden Yards theme in and of itself, because baseball really did need to get out of the concrete donut multi-purpose thing. And Camden Yards, I think it was the first, and I think in many ways it was one of the better ones, and it still kind of holds up. But a lot of like the teams went, well, Camden Yards had this sort of kitschy retro thing. Let's go all in on that. And it just didn't work for a lot of.
Well, I did the research on the Houston Hill in center field.
Okay, where did it come from?
It was known as Tal's Hill for former Astros president Tal Smith, who proposed its inclusion. In 1996, when the Astros were designing a new stadium, the owner at the time asked, what can we do to make this ballpark special? And Tal suggested a hill in center field similar to the Cincinnati Reds Crosley Field.
That's okay. I was right. It was Cincinnati.
When Enron Field opened, let's not forget this used to be Enron Field.
Yeah.
It quickly gained the nickname the Grassy Knoll.
That's something you want associated with your team. The assassination of a beloved president.
Especially in Texas. Right?
Yeah.
Lance Berkman once said, if the ball rolls onto it, it's not steep enough to roll back. So you have to go get it. Then there's the chance of running into the flagpole. So then in 2015, they eventually got rid of it.
Well, I knew the hill was taken from somewhere. I knew it was either like Cincinnati or Philly. I couldn't remember which one. I want to say the flagpole itself as being in play was from the Polo Grounds. I think the Polo Grounds in straightaway center field had a flagpole that was 470 feet from home plate, but it was in play if you could hit it that far. Nobody could.
Yeah, the flagpole was in play here also.
Yeah.
So. Didn't the Yankees, their monuments from their Monument Park, didn't that used to be in the outfield?
I don't remember.
At the old Yankee Stadium?
I don't remember. It might have been. I know they redid Yankee Stadium in like 76 because they played at Shea for that season. So I don't know, but I don't remember if they might have been. I don't know.
They used to be in
like in play,
like a line along the outfield.
Yeah. Anyway, so who we like in the series? I got Dodgers in 5.
I'm gonna say Dodgers in 6.
I'll go Dodgers in 6 also.
All right, there you go. So that means the Astros are going to win it. We don't know how many games, but you can pretty much bank on it. Okay, folks, we're going to call it a night. You know the routine. Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports. where I'm actually trying to tweet more often, so to make it a little more interesting.
Argue with us there about Carson Palmer, who is now done for the season, but, continue to argue about him.
But only him, and only the Cardinals, no one else. We will ignore you completely if it's any team other than the Cardinals. Subscribe via iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, and YouTube, and follow us on Facebook. We'll see you next time.
Later.